The sleek research vessel Stellar Scholar hummed softly as it drifted through the education sector of Central Station, the massive space hub that served as home to the Galactic Science Academy. Inside the ship's main cabin, 4 very different alien beings gathered around a holographic display. Earth? Our final project is about Earth? Zixnar's crystalline body shimmered with displeasure, refracting light in patterns that expressed confusion. As team leader, the crystalline being from the low-gravity world of Christak had hoped for a more prestigious assignment. Class 12 Deathworld, read Aloravine, her aquatic tentacles rippling inside her hydration suit. Water sloshed gently as she moved closer to examine the hologram of the blue-green planet. But it looked so ordinary. Professor Izik's recorded message continued playing above the table. The old Vexeran's 6 eyes blinked in sequence as his gravelly voice explained the assignment. Your team has been selected for this observational study due to your diverse biological backgrounds. Remember, this is strictly a remote analysis task. Under no circumstances are you to attempt contact with the indigenous species known as humans. Earth's Deathworld classification is not to be taken lightly. Krath, the insectoid team member specializing in evolutionary biology, clicked his mandibles thoughtfully. His exoskeleton gleamed under the cabin lights as he extended one of his forearms to rotate the planet hologram. I find it curious that such an apparently temperate world carries such a severe classification. Agreed, came the whispered response from Trillax, the gaseous team member who floated in a specially pressurized containment field. The swirling purple vapors that made up Trillax's form condensed slightly, indicating concentration. Atmospheric composition seems well within tolerable parameters for many species. Gravity is high but not exceptional. What makes this world so dangerous? Zixnar manipulated the controls, pulling up the classification data. Apparently, it's not just the planetary conditions, but the dominant species that creates the danger. Rating. Humans are classified as, wait, this can't be right. The crystalline alien's normally smooth surface developed small spikes of alarm. Humans are classified as an apex predator species with extreme environmental adaptability and high technological development, despite their pre-contact status. Pre-contact? They don't know about galactic civilization? Aloravine's skin changed, color slightly, a sign of surprise among her species. But the data shows they've achieved primitive space travel, limited to their own solar system, Krath clarified, his compound eyes scanning the data rapidly. They've placed simple satellites in orbit, visited their moon, and sent basic probes to nearby planets, nothing suggesting faster-than-light capability. Trillax expanded slightly, the equivalent of leaning forward with interest. Yet they're considered too dangerous for contact? This doesn't add up. That's why this assignment matters, Zixnar said, beginning to see the value in their project. The Galactic Science Academy wants fresh eyes on this anomaly. Why classify a species as dangerous when they haven't even left their solar system? The team spent the next several hours reviewing the limited information available about Earth. They learned that the planet had been discovered 300 galactic standard years ago, but detailed studies had been rare due to its classification. What they found raised more questions than answers. Look at this biodiversity index, Krath said with academic excitement, his antennae twitching. Over 8 million distinct species. That's in the top 2% of all known worlds. And the disaster frequency, added Aloravine. Regular tectonic shifts, extreme weather patterns, varied climate zones, and constant microbiological threats. How does any species survive there, let alone thrive? Zixnar settled into a contemplative crystalline formation. Perhaps that's exactly why they're dangerous. Anything that evolves in such conditions would have to be incredibly resilient. The Academy database has some intercepted media broadcasts, Trillax noted, directing the team's attention to a new section of data. Visual records of human activities. Should we examine them? The team spent the next few hours watching with growing disbelief as humans deliberately jumped from high places attached to thin fabrics, submerged themselves in dangerous waters filled with predators, climbed frozen mountains without protective gear, and ingested substances that the team's analysis software identified as mildly to moderately toxic. They do this for enjoyment? Eloravine's tentacles curled in distress. This isn't survival behavior. They're deliberately seeking danger. Fascinating from an evolutionary standpoint, Krath remarked. Most species develop to avoid threats. These humans appear to pursue them. The assignment parameters allow for closer observation from the edge of their solar system, Zixnar said slowly, an idea forming. We're permitted to gather data as long as we remain undetected. You want to go to the Earth system? Trilax condensed in surprise. Not just study the existing records? Think about it. Zixnar's surface glittered with academic ambition. No team has done a thorough analysis in 50 years. The existing data is minimal. If we gather fresh observations, our project could be published in the Galactic Journal of Xenobiology. Krath's mandibles clicked excitedly. A publication before graduation would be unprecedented. And if we maintain proper distance and cloaking, Eloravine added, warming to the idea, there's no risk of violating contact protocols. The 4 students spent the next day planning their expedition. The Stellar Scholar, while small, was fully equipped for deep space research. They plotted a course that would take them to the outer edge of Earth's solar system, allowing them to observe without detection. Before departure, they informed the Academy of their intended research location, though they carefully emphasized they would remain well beyond detection range of Earth's primitive scanning technology. 2 weeks later, the Stellar Scholar decelerated from faster-than-light travel at the edge of Earth's solar system. The 4 students gathered at the observation deck, staring at the distant yellow star and its orbiting planets. Begin passive scanning, Zixnar ordered. Let's see what makes these humans so special. Receiving signals already, Trilax reported, his gaseous form swirling with excitement. Their broadcast technology is primitive but abundant. Analyzing planetary conditions, Eloravine added. Confirming extreme variation in habitable zones, from freezing polar regions to scorching deserts, to dense tropical forests. And humans live in all of them, Krath said, his voice filled with academic wonder. With minimal protective technology, most species would require extensive environmental suits to survive such variation. As the Stellar Scholar settled into its observation position, the 4 students had no idea that their simple academic project would soon change their understanding of life in the galaxy forever. None of them suspected that within days they would experience firsthand why Earth carried its frightening classification, or that they would be the first non-humans in centuries to make direct contact with the notorious Deathworlders of Earth. Zixnar's final log entry for the day was simple. Initial observation of Earth commenced. Standard research protocols established. The team remains curious about the contradiction between the planet's hospitable appearance and dangerous classification. Tomorrow we begin detailed monitoring of human activities to understand this discrepancy. Little did they know that tomorrow would bring discoveries that would shake the foundations of galactic xenobiology forever. 3 days into their observation mission, the alien research team was already overwhelmed by the data they were collecting. The Stellar Scholar remained safely positioned beyond Pluto, intercepting Earth's broadcasts and analyzing human activities from a distance. I've identified an interesting subject for our behavioral study, Krath announced, his insectoid limbs moving quickly across the control panel. A human male named Gary Mitchell, age 32, occupation carpenter. He lives in a region called Colorado. The holographic display showed a bearded man with sun-weathered skin, hiking alone through a snowy mountain range. Despite the visibly harsh conditions, he wore only basic protective clothing. Current temperature in his location is -15 degrees by their measurement system, Eloravine noted, her aquatic tentacles curling in what her teammates recognized as distress. That's well below freezing for his body's water content. Why isn't he in climate-controlled shelter? According to his portable communication device, which we've accessed remotely, he does this activity called winter hiking regularly. Trilax's gaseous form swirled with confusion. Their information network suggests this is a common recreational activity. Zixnar's crystalline surface rippled with disbelief. Recreational? They deliberately expose themselves to freezing conditions? For enjoyment? It gets stranger. Krath clicked his mandibles excitedly. Look at his vital signs. The display showed a scan of Gary's biological functions. His heart rate was elevated but steady. His body temperature remained constant despite the cold, and his brain activity showed patterns consistent with pleasure, not distress. His body is efficiently burning energy to maintain temperature, Zixnar observed. And he appears to be happy. Most species would be in survival mode, conserving energy and seeking shelter, Trilax whispered. These humans seek out harsh conditions intentionally. Eloravine directed their attention to another observation feed. I found another subject. Female human, Carol Alvarez, age 45, occupation, marine biologist. The new hologram showed a woman diving in ocean waters. The team watched in silence as Carol swam confidently near large predatory fish. Those creatures have multiple rows of cutting teeth, Krath noted with academic interest. Yet she approaches them with minimal protective equipment. Scanning her digital records, Trilax reported. She regularly studies these sharks and advocates for their protection. The creatures are apex predators in Earth's oceans capable of detecting blood at minute concentrations. Zixanar's crystalline form sparkled with growing understanding. So humans not only survive alongside dangerous predators, but actively study them at close range. Over the next few days, the team continued monitoring various humans across the planet. They observed people running extreme distances, climbing sheer rock faces without safety equipment, exploring deep caves, and consuming substances that scans indicated were technically toxic. I've compiled our initial findings, Krath said during their research meeting on the 6th day. Humans demonstrate several physiological traits that are rare in combination. Their endurance exceeds most known species. Their temperature adaptation range is unusually broad, and their wound healing is remarkably efficient. Their psychological profile is equally unusual, added Eloravine. They appear to seek novelty and challenge rather than stability and safety. Zixnar reviewed the data thoughtfully. This begins to explain the Deathworld classification. It's not just that Earth is dangerous, though it certainly is with its weather extremes, tectonic, instability, and biological threats. It's that humans evolved alongside these dangers and became adapted to them. More than adapted, Trilax's gaseous form condensed slightly. They seem almost dependent on challenge. Their historical records show constant expansion into unknown territories despite risks. The team continued monitoring their subjects. Gary Mitchell completed his winter hike and immediately began planning another, more difficult journey. Carol Alvarez published research findings from her shark observations and prepared for deeper dives. I've been analyzing their entertainment media, Krath said on the 8th day. They constantly create fictional scenarios of survival against even greater threats than those on their planet. Imaginary predators, planetary disasters, even conflicts with fictional alien species. Speaking of which, Eloravine gestured to another data stream. Their scientific community actively searches for extraterrestrial life. They regularly transmit signals into space hoping for contact. Despite having no confirmation that other intelligent life exists, Zixnar noted, most young species fear the unknown. These humans pursue it. Krath's antennae twitched suddenly. I've been thinking. Our remote observations provide valuable data, but we're missing direct measurements. The Academy protocols allow for deployment of small, undetectable sensor drones for atmospheric and geological sampling. Zixnar considered this. True, but we'd need to move the Stellar Scholar closer to deploy them effectively. Earth's detection technology is primitive, Trilax pointed out. If we position ourselves in orbit around their outer gas giant, Neptune they call it, we could deploy drones while remaining undetected. It would significantly enhance our research data, Eloravine agreed, and it doesn't violate non-contact protocols. After careful discussion, the team decided to move their research vessel closer. 3 days later, the Stellar Scholar settled into a stable orbit around Neptune, using the planet's magnetic field to help mask their presence from Earth's basic scanning technology. Drone deployment ready, Krath reported. I've programmed them to collect atmospheric samples at various altitudes and geological samples from different terrain types. Remember, absolute stealth is essential, Zixnar reminded everyone. The drones must avoid all human detection. Already configured, Trillax assured. They'll disguise themselves as native flying creatures when near populated areas. The team launched 5 sensor drones toward Earth. For 2 days, everything proceeded according to plan. The drones transmitted valuable data about Earth's surprisingly diverse environments. On the 3rd day, however, an alert sounded on the Stellar Scholar's main console. What's happening? Zixnar demanded. Eloravine's tentacles moved rapidly over the controls. Unusual solar activity detected. The human star is experiencing a sudden emission event. A solar flare by their terminology. Will it affect our ship? Trillax asked, his gaseous form swirling anxiously. We're shielded here at Neptune's orbit, Krath replied. But the radiation burst will... The drones! Zixnar's crystalline surface developed sharp angles of alarm. Are they shielded against this level of radiation? A moment of tense silence fell over the cabin before Krath answered. No, they're designed for stealth, not radiation protection. The team watched helplessly as the solar flare washed over Earth and their sensor drones. 4 of the 5 devices immediately went offline. The 5th began transmitting erratic data before sending an emergency signal. Drone 5 is malfunctioning, Eloravine reported. Its stealth systems are failing, and it's losing altitude control. Current. Trajectory? Zixnar asked urgently. Trillax expanded in alarm. It's falling toward a populated area on the western coast of the continental mass they call North America. Can we remotely destruct it? Zixnar asked. Negative, Krath's mandibles clicked rapidly. The control systems are damaged. The 4 alien students stared at each other as the implications became clear. Their academic project had just become much more complicated. We have no choice, Zixnar said finally. We must recover the drone before humans discover it. Prepare the Stellar Scholar for atmospheric entry. As the research vessel changed course toward Earth, none of the 4 students spoke the obvious truth. They were about to break the most important protocol in their assignment. They were going to directly encounter the mysterious Deathworlders they had been studying from afar. The Stellar Scholar shuddered as it entered Earth's atmosphere. None of the 4 alien students had experienced planetary entry on a world with such high gravity and dense air. Tracking the drone's descent, Krath reported, his insectoid limbs moving rapidly across the controls. It crashed in a forested area near a settlement called Seattle. Any signs of human detection? Zixnar asked, the crystalline being's surface rippling with worry. Eloravine's tentacles danced across the sensor panel. No official alerts on their communication networks, but the impact may have been noticed locally. We need to hurry. Trillax's gaseous form swirled anxiously inside its containment field. Night has fallen in that region, which should help conceal our approach. The research vessel descended through thick clouds, its stealth systems working. Hard to avoid detection. Rain pelted the hull as they navigated toward the crash site. Weather conditions are deteriorating, Eloravine noted. Their meteorological service predicts a severe storm in this area. Suddenly, warning lights flashed across the control panel. The ship lurched violently. What's happening? Zixnar demanded. Electrical surge in the navigation system. Krath clicked in alarm. The lightning storm is interfering with our stabilizers. Attempting to compensate, Trillax said, but another violent jolt sent the gaseous alien bouncing against the walls of his containment field. The Stellar Scholar spun out of control, dropping rapidly toward the forest below. Emergency systems kicked in, slowing their descent but not enough to prevent a rough landing. The ship plowed through tree branches before coming to rest in a small clearing. When the emergency lights came on, the team assessed their situation. Status report, Zixnar demanded, small cracks visible in his crystalline form from the impact. Ship systems are damaged but functional, Krath reported. Hull integrity at 82%. My containment field is stable, Trillax added with relief. But We have a bigger problem, Eloravine said, pointing to the external camera feed. Look, the screen showed 3 humans standing at the edge of the clearing, staring at their ship with expressions of shock and wonder. 2 males and 1 female, dressed in outdoor clothing and carrying camping equipment. They've seen us. Zixnar's voice dropped to a whisper. Contact protocol has been breached. What do we do? Trilak's asked. The Academy guidelines state we should retreat immediately if discovered. We can't retreat with damaged systems, Krath pointed out, and we still need to retrieve the drone. Eloravine studied the humans on the screen. They don't appear to be running away or showing signs of aggression. In fact, they seem curious. We have limited options, Zixnar decided. We need to assess if they're hostile before we can plan our next move. After a brief discussion, the team agreed to make contact. They activated the ship's external translator and opened the main hatch. The humans took a few steps back but didn't flee. Their faces showed surprise but not terror. Zixnar stepped out first, the crystalline alien's form catching the moonlight and reflecting it in rainbow patterns. Krath followed, his insectoid appearance causing the human's eyes to widen. Eloravine moved awkwardly in her hydration suit, while Trilax remained inside, monitoring through the ship's cameras, his gaseous nature requiring the containment field. The humans whispered among themselves, but none ran away. Finally, one of the human males stepped forward. He was tall with light brown hair and a short beard. Hello, he said simply. Are you all right? We saw you crash. The translator processed his words, and Zixnar was surprised by the question. You are not afraid? The crystalline alien asked. The human male smiled. Honestly, I'm terrified. But you look like you need help, and you haven't tried to disintegrate us yet, so that seems promising. The female human stepped forward next. She had dark skin and curly black hair pulled back from her face. I'm Linda Ramirez. I'm a doctor. Is anyone injured? Krath's mandibles clicked in surprise. You offer medical assistance to us? The younger human male, who had blonde hair and wore a bright orange jacket, laughed nervously. Well, we might not know much about your biology, but it seemed rude not to offer. I'm Paul Newman, said the first human. This is Kevin Wright, he added, pointing to the younger male. We were camping when we saw your ship come down. Zixnar's surface rippled as the alien processed this unexpected turn of events. I am Zixnar, team leader. These are Krath and Eloravine. Our 4th member, Trilax, must remain inside in a containment field. You speak English really well, Kevin remarked. Universal translator, Krath explained. Standard equipment for research vessels. Research? Linda asked. You're scientists? Students, Eloravine clarified, her tentacles moving slowly inside her hydration suit. From the Galactic Science Academy, we were studying Earth as part of our xenobiology project. Paul's eyes widened. So there really is a galactic civilization out there? We've been wondering for decades. Earth is classified as a pre-contact civilization, Zixnar explained. We were not supposed to make direct contact. This is highly irregular. Sorry to mess up your assignment, Kevin said with a grin. If it helps, we won't tell anyone. The aliens exchanged confused glances. You would keep our presence secret? Krath asked. Why? Linda shrugged. It seems like you're in trouble, and revealing you might make things worse. Besides, who would believe us without proof? Come to our campsite, Paul offered. It's less exposed there, and we have a fire going. Your ship doesn't look immediately flyable. The aliens conferred briefly among themselves. Their situation was precarious. The ship needed repairs. They still had to recover the drone, and now they had breached contact protocols. Yet these humans seemed surprisingly helpful. Very well, Zixnar decided. We accept your assistance. At the humans' campsite, Paul offered them seating around a crackling fire. Kevin rummaged through a backpack and pulled out a container. Would you like some coffee? He asked, pouring the dark liquid into a cup. It's kind of a camping tradition. Before the aliens could analyze the substance, Zixnar reached out and accepted the cup. The crystalline being had no mouth in the human sense, but could absorb liquids through its surface. As soon as the coffee touched Zixnar's crystalline form, the alien began to glow and sparkle intensely. "Are you okay?" Paul asked with concern. "The substance contains a stimulant compound," Krath explained, watching his team leader with alarm. "For Zixnar's species, it appears to act as a powerful hallucinogen." "Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry," Kevin exclaimed. But Zixnar's voice came out musical and delighted. "The patterns! So many beautiful patterns." Linda turned to Eloravine, noticing the aquatic alien's labored movements. "You seem uncomfortable. Is it the atmosphere?" "My species requires higher humidity," Eloravine explained. "This hydration suit helps, but Earth's atmosphere is quite dry compared to my homeworld." Linda immediately went to her tent and returned with a small device. "It's a portable humidifier. Will this help if I set it near you?" Eloravine's skin changed color slightly in surprise. "You would share your resources with an unknown alien species?" "Well, yeah," Linda said simply. "You're guests on our planet, even if it was accidental." As the night progressed, the 3 humans and 4 aliens shared information about their worlds. The aliens were repeatedly shocked by the humans' calm acceptance of their presence and their remarkable adaptability. "We need to recover a research drone that crashed nearby," Krath explained eventually, "and repair our ship." "We can help with that," Paul offered. "I work as a park ranger, so I know these woods well. Tomorrow morning we can search for your drone." "And I'm pretty good with mechanical stuff," Kevin added. "I might not understand alien technology, but basic repair principles are probably similar." As the humans continued to offer assistance without hesitation, the alien students began to understand something fundamental about these Deathworlders. What made humans remarkable wasn't just their physical resilience, it was their psychological approach to the unknown. Where most species responded to strange situations with fear, humans met them with curiosity and offers of help. It was, Zixnar thought as the caffeine finally wore off, perhaps the most dangerous adaptation of all, and the most admirable. Morning arrived with gentle rain pattering on the forest canopy. The 3 humans and 4 alien students gathered after a night of uneasy rest. Zixnar had recovered from the coffee incident, though the crystalline being still sparkled more than usual. "I've located the drone signal," Krath reported, holding up a small tracking device. "It's about 3 miles northeast of here." "That's deep in the forest," Paul said, studying the map on his phone. "Rough terrain, but nothing we can't handle." Linda was checking her backpack. "I've packed extra water, first aid supplies, and some food. Do any of you need special provisions?" The aliens were struck again by the humans' matter-of-fact approach to the situation. They had discovered actual extraterrestrials, yet they acted as if they were simply helping lost hikers. "I've modified my containment field for short-range mobility," Trilak said, the gaseous alien now floating within a smaller portable unit. "But steep elevation changes might be problematic." "We'll take it slow," Kevin promised. "And I can help carry the unit if needed." As they set out through the forest, Eloravine struggled with the uneven terrain. Her species evolved in oceans, making land movement awkward despite her hydration suit. "Here," Linda offered her arm for support. "The ground gets pretty slippery after rain." "Your gravity is quite intense," Eloravine admitted, accepting the help. "I suppose it would seem that way," Linda said thoughtfully. "We never really think about it." Krath was observing everything with scientific interest. "Your species shows remarkable muscular density and skeletal strength compared to galactic averages. It allows you to function efficiently in this high-gravity environment." Kevin jumped over a fallen log with casual ease. "Is that unusual? How strong are humans compared to other species?" "In pure physical strength, you rank in the upper 15% of known sentient species," Krath explained. "But your true advantage is endurance. Most species couldn't maintain this walking pace for hours. Humans evolved as persistence hunters," Paulie explained. "Our ancestors would chase prey until it collapsed from exhaustion." Zixnar's crystalline surface rippled with surprise. "You pursued prey on foot, without technological assistance?" For thousands of years, Paul confirmed. Before we developed tools, we had stamina. They stopped for a brief rest after an hour of hiking. Kevin unwrapped a small package and popped something red into his mouth. "What is that substance?" Krath inquired, his insectoid antennae twitching with interest. "Beef jerky with chili powder," Kevin answered, offering some. "Want to try?" Krath scanned it with a small device. "It contains capsaicin, which our database flags as a defensive toxin produced by certain earth plants." Kevin laughed. "Yeah, it's spicy. That's why it tastes good." The aliens were bewildered. "You intentionally consume plant defense toxins. For pleasure?" Zixnar asked. "Sure," Kevin shrugged. "Lots of our best foods are a little bit dangerous. Coffee, chocolate, chili peppers, alcohol. Fascinating adaptation," Trilax observed from his floating containment unit. "Your species has developed the ability to metabolize substances that would be toxic to most life forms." They continued their journey, with the tracking device leading them deeper into the forest. As they climbed a steep hill, Linda stumbled and scraped her arm against a sharp rock. "You're injured," Eloravin said with concern, noticing the blood. "Just a scratch," Linda replied, pulling a small kit from her pocket. She quickly cleaned the wound with an antiseptic wipe, applied a bandage, and continued walking. "You performed medical treatment on yourself," Krath observed with academic interest. "Basic first aid," Linda explained. "As a doctor, I'm used to handling wounds." "But you didn't use pain suppressants," Zixnar noted. Linda seemed confused by the question. "For a scratch? No need, it barely hurts." The aliens exchanged meaningful glances. Their research on Earth had indicated humans had high pain tolerance, but seeing it demonstrated so casually was still surprising. By midday, they reached a small crater where the drone had crashed. The device was damaged but largely intact. "Excellent," Krath said, carefully examining the drone. "The data storage unit is undamaged. Our research findings are preserved." As Kevin helped Krath secure the drone in a carrying case, Paul suddenly held up his hand for silence. "What is it?" Zixnar whispered. "Mountain lion tracks," Paul said quietly, pointing to marks in the soft earth. "Fresh ones. We should move carefully." "Is this creature dangerous?" Trilax asked. "It can be," Paul replied, "but they usually avoid humans." Eloravine consulted her database. Puma concolor, a solitary predator with powerful jaws and claws. Why are you not more concerned? Paul smiled slightly. "I respect them, but I'm not afraid. I've encountered them before. We'll make noise as we walk back to scare it off." As they made their way back toward the campsite, the aliens continued to be amazed by casual displays of human resilience and adaptability. When a sudden downpour soaked them all, the humans simply pulled on rain jackets and continued walking. When Kevin tripped and fell hard, he simply got up, brushed himself off, and kept moving. Back at the campsite, they found that overnight rain had damaged some of the humans' equipment. One tent had partially collapsed. "No big deal," Kevin said, quickly repairing it. "Happens all the time when camping." "Your comfort threshold for environmental variation is remarkable," Zixnar commented. "On my homeworld, such temperature and moisture changes would require special protective measures." While Kevin helped Krath examine the ship's damaged navigation system, Linda invited Eloravine and Trilax to learn more about Earth biology using her tablet. "Your planet hosts over 8 million species," Eloravine remarked. "The biodiversity is almost unparalleled." "It's one of Earth's treasures," Linda agreed, "though we haven't done a great job protecting it in recent centuries." "Yet you live alongside predators, venomous creatures, and microbes that could kill you," Trilax observed. Linda nodded. "We've learned to coexist. Sometimes successfully, sometimes not." As evening approached, Paul started a new campfire. The group gathered around it, sharing stories of their worlds. "I think I understand now," Zixnar said after listening to Paul describe climbing a mountain during a snowstorm. "You were shaped by constant challenge. Your biology and psychology evolved not just to survive threats, but to seek them out. Wouldn't say we seek danger for its own sake, Paul responded. But we do seem to need some level of challenge to feel fulfilled. On most worlds, Krath explained, stability and safety drive evolution. Species adapt to avoid threats. You developed the capacity to overcome them instead. Kevin grinned. So we're Space Orcs? The scary tough guys of the galaxy? Eloravine's tentacles waved as she processed the cultural reference. Not frightening. Impressive. Most species would have developed technology to avoid environmental challenges. You developed yourselves to meet them. As night fell, the conversation turned to the aliens' research project. They explained how Earth was classified as a death world, not suitable for most galactic species. But now I wonder if that classification misses something fundamental, Zixnar said. It focuses on the physical dangers of your world, but not on the unique attributes that allowed you to thrive here. Our physiological adaptations? Linda asked. More than that, Trilax replied. Your psychological approach to existence. Where most species see danger and retreat, you see challenge and advance. The aliens didn't share their growing realization that this explained the Death World classification perfectly. It wasn't just that Earth was dangerous to most species. It was that humans themselves, with their curiosity, resilience, and casual relationship with danger, would be terrifying neighbors for the more fragile species of the galaxy. As they continued, repairing the ship, a new dynamic was forming, one of mutual respect between species that couldn't have been more different, yet found common ground in their curiosity about the universe. 3 days after the crash, the Stellar Scholar was ready to fly again. Kevin had proven surprisingly skilled at helping with repairs, his natural human ingenuity making up for his lack of knowledge about alien technology. The navigation system is functioning at 97% capacity, Krath reported, his insectoid limbs moving efficiently across the control panel. The hull damage has been sealed. Then it is time for us to depart, Zixnar said, the crystalline alien surface showing complex patterns that indicated mixed emotions. We have already breached contact protocols. We must return to the academy and report what happened. The 3 humans stood nearby, watching the aliens prepare for departure. During their time together, an unlikely friendship had formed between the species. Will you get in trouble? Linda asked, concern evident in her voice. Probably, Eloravine replied, her tentacles moving slowly inside her hydration suit. The protocol breach is serious, but our research findings are significant. Speaking of that, Paul said, what exactly will you tell them about us? The 4 alien students exchanged glances. It was Trilax who finally answered, his gaseous form swirling thoughtfully inside his containment field. The truth. That the classification of Earth as a death world is both accurate and incomplete. How so? Kevin asked, leaning against a tree. Your planet is objectively dangerous, Krath explained. The gravity, weather extremes, biodiversity including predators and microorganisms, tectonic activity, all of these would threaten most galactic species. But that's only half the story, Zixnar continued. The remarkable part is how humans evolved in response to these conditions. Eloravine activated a small holographic projector showing comparative physiological data. Most species adapt to avoid threats. If predators exist, they develop camouflage or defensive structures. If weather is extreme, they develop specialized biology for a specific climate zone. Humans did something different, Trilax added. Instead of specializing to avoid threats, you developed generalized adaptability. You can survive in almost any environment on your planet with minimal technological assistance. And beyond the physical adaptations, Krath said, your psychological approach is unique. You seek novelty and challenge. You explore dangerous places voluntarily. Linda smiled. You make us sound special, but to us it's just normal. That's what makes it remarkable, Zixnar replied. Your baseline for normal would be considered extreme for most species. As they finished loading their equipment, Paul handed each alien a small package. Just some souvenirs from Earth, he explained. Nothing fancy, some pine cones, interesting rocks, photos we took together. So you remember your time here. The gesture touched the aliens deeply. It demonstrated once again the humans' natural tendency toward friendship and cooperation, even with entirely different life forms. "We have something for you as well," Zixnar said. The crystalline alien produced 4 small devices. Communication units. They won't reach across the galaxy, but they'll let you contact each other anywhere on Earth. A small thank you for your help. The humans accepted the gifts with delight, though they seemed more excited about having alien friends than about the technology itself. "Time to depart," Krath announced. "Dawn approaches and we should leave under cover of darkness." The goodbyes were brief but heartfelt. As the aliens boarded their ship, Paul called out one last question. "Will we see you again? Or will others come?" Zixnar paused at the entrance. "That will depend on the Galactic Council's decision after reviewing our report. But I believe contact is inevitable eventually." The stellar scholar rose silently into the night sky, quickly becoming just another point of light among the stars. The 3 humans watched until it disappeared, then quietly packed up their camping equipment and headed back to civilization, carrying a secret that would change their lives forever. 3 weeks later, in the Grand Assembly Hall of the Galactic Science Academy, the 4 students stood nervously before the Academic Council. Dr. Isaac, their professor, sat with the other senior academics, his 6 eyes blinking in sequence, a sign of extreme displeasure. "You knowingly violated contact protocols with a pre-contact civilization," the council leader stated, her voice echoing through the chamber. "This is a serious breach of galactic law." "We acknowledge our error," Zixnar replied formally. "The situation was exceptional due to equipment failure, but we take full responsibility. However," Krath added, stepping forward, "we believe our findings warrant special consideration." With permission from the council, the students presented their research on humans and Earth. They showed physiological data, behavioral analyses, and finally the direct observations from their accidental contact. As they spoke, the initial hostility in the room gradually shifted to interest, then to fascination. "You're claiming that these humans casually engage in activities that would be considered survival training for our elite space forces?" one council member asked incredulously. "Correct," Ilorovin confirmed. "What they call recreation often involves voluntary exposure to height, depth, speed, temperature extremes, or physical exertion that would be considered dangerous by most galactic standards. And yet they offered you assistance without hesitation," another council member noted, "despite your alien appearance and unexpected arrival. Their psychological profile shows a unique balance," Trilax explained. "They are capable of both extreme resilience and remarkable compassion." The presentation continued for hours as the students shared everything they had learned. When they finished, the council withdrew to deliberate in private. Dr. Isaac approached his students during the break. "You took an inexcusable risk," he said sternly. Then his voice softened slightly. "But your research is compelling." When the council returned, their decision was unexpected. "While we cannot overlook the protocol breach, we acknowledge the scientific value of your findings," the council leader announced. "Therefore, your academic standing will remain intact," with a formal reprimand noted. The students' relief was palpable. Furthermore, the council leader continued, "We are reclassifying Earth in our databases. It will remain designated as a Deathworld, but with a special advisory note regarding its indigenous intelligent species. The new classification would read, Earth, Class 12 Deathworld. Special advisory, indigenous species, humans, demonstrates unique physiological and psychological adaptations to high-threat environments. Exercise extreme caution in any contact scenarios. Humans combine physical resilience with technological capability and unpredictable behavior patterns. They are simultaneously more dangerous and more beneficial as potential allies than standard protocols would suggest." The council also established a new research initiative focused specifically on Earth and humans, with the 4 students invited to participate as junior researchers after graduation. As they left the council chamber, Aloravine turned to her teammates. Do you think they'll ever join the galactic community? Eventually, Zixnar replied, and when they do, the galaxy will never be the same. Unknown to the aliens, back on Earth, Paul Newman was being debriefed in an underground facility. He sat across from a woman with short gray hair and a serious expression. You're absolutely certain there were 4 different species? She asked. Yes, Director, Paul confirmed. Just as I reported, each completely unlike anything on Earth. The director nodded to her assistant. Update the first contact files. Add these new species descriptions. Paul looked confused. You're not surprised? The director smiled slightly. Mr. Newman, we've been preparing for this day for decades. Your camping trip wasn't entirely accidental. As Paul processed this revelation, the director stood up. Welcome to the Bureau of Extraterrestrial Preparedness, Mr. Newman. It seems those aliens were right about one thing. Humans are indeed remarkably adaptable. Across the galaxy, Earth continued its silent journey through space, its true nature, now better understood by at least a few members of the galactic community. The Deathworld and its peculiar inhabitants would soon take their place among the stars, bringing their unique blend of danger and potential to a universe that wasn't quite ready for them.